Good morning. My name is Amanda Rivera. I'm the hearing examiner presiding over today's case. The date is April 9th, 2025, and this is case SEZ2024-00010. It's a special exception request in the Lehigh Acres planning community to increase the number of fuel pumps on a site. Because this is a quasi-judicial hearing, all evidence and testimony must be taken under oath. So if you intend to speak, if you can please raise your hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you will provide is the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. We do not have any members of the public here today, so I will dispense with those instructions, and we can begin if staff has the affidavit of publication.
Yes, we do.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So that will be the staff exhibit 2. Staff exhibit 1 is the staff report. Let's take a look. Okay, that appears to be in order. So whenever the applicant is ready to begin. Good morning.
Good morning. This is my first time, so I brought some resumes as well.
Okay. Thank you. I can accept that. The PowerPoint? Okay. Thank you. So I will accept, the PowerPoint would be applicant exhibit number 1, and then your resume will be applicant exhibit number 2. And if you can just briefly state your experience with the Land Development Code and the LDC to be qualified as an expert. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Josh Eisenoff. I'm with Quattrone Associates. I have been doing site development for 4.5 years now. I've gone through industrial, commercial, residential, development orders in Lee County, along with permitting with the Water Management District, FDOT, Lehigh Acres.
In planning work, I'm not sure what the scope of your testimony is going to be today. So if you can just speak about if there's planning elements to your work as well.
Yes, so I have experience with traffic in Lehigh Acres, FDOT, Lee County, along with stormwater design and implementation between multiple municipalities.
Okay, so your experience with Lee County, then you're familiar with Water Management District permitting as well, with site design, civil engineering, those kinds of things?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Whenever you're ready to begin.
Thanks. So this is for the Ray Avenue gas station project. My name is Josh Eisenoff. I'm an engineer with Quattrone Associates. And today we're going to be going over the request, the project overview, the location, master concept plan, surrounding uses and zoning, an analysis, LEED plan compliance and compatibility, and the overall conclusion. So the request is to allow an increase in the number of fuel pumps from the allowable 8 to total of 12. The subject property is zoned commercial C2, located in the central urban future land use category in accordance with the LEED plan, and located within the mixed use overlay. The subject property is also in the Lehigh Acres community planned area. This is an exhibit of where the site is located on the northeast side of State Road 82, southeast of Ray Avenue South, and the southwest of Meadow Road.
I'm sorry, if you can go back. I assume the left side is zoning, or no, is that the mixed use overlay?
Yes.
Map?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
then on the right-hand side, what is the red denoting?
The Lehigh Commercial District.
Oh, the overlay. Okay, thank you.
This exhibit is the master concept plan, and we're where we currently are with our development order plan as well. So for the surrounding uses and zoning, for the north and east, properties located on the north and east of the subject property are zoned residential multifamily RM2 and are located in the central urban category according to the future land use map of Lee County, which are still primarily undeveloped and are located in the mixed use overlay. Properties located southeast of the subject property are zoned commercial C2 and are located in the central urban category according to the future land use map of Lee County. These properties are also undeveloped and located in the mixed use overlay. Properties located to the south and west directly across from State Road 82 are within a planned unit development known as Gateway and are also located in the new community category according to the future land use map of Lee County. Properties located to the northwest, directly across from Ray Avenue South, are zoned commercial. Central urban categories according to the future land use map. The properties directly to the south with the address 554 Meadow Road is currently undeveloped, but a development order application has been submitted for development of a new automotive repair service center. The proposed project is classified as a convenience food and beverage store as defined in the Land Development Code Section 34-2, which permitted with 8 fuel pumps by right in the commercial C2 zoning district pursuant to Land Development Code Section 34-844, which establishes the use regulation tables for the commercial zoning district. This request seeks to increase the number of permitted fuel pumps from 8 pumps to 12, which requires a special exception pursuant to Land Development Code 34-844, Note 19 in the C2 zoning district. Although the subject property is located within the mixed-use overlay, the proposed use is regulated by Land Development Code Section 34-1353, which establishes different property development regulations and landscape requirements for development of this use. The general property development regulations for the commercial zoning districts and properties within the mixed-use overlay that are established in the Land Development Code Section 34-845 are not applicable to this request. The property is in Lehigh Acres along State Road 82. Although the C2 zoning has a variety of uses, the primary intended use will be a convenience store and beverage store with self-service fuel pumps. State Road 82 includes a combination of vacant and developed PD and C2 zoned parcels. Though this area is not fully developed, as Lehigh Acres grows and State Road 82 improvements move forward, the special exception will allow for a convenience food and beverage store that will serve and strengthen the community's urban fabric along both sides of State Road 82. The project is consistent with 1.1.3. The property is located within the Lehigh Acres Community Planning District. The district has 900 acres allotted. There are approximately 390 acres currently developed, leaving a remainder of approximately 510 acres. The proposed Ray Avenue gas station is slightly less than 1 acre. Therefore, the special exception is consistent with 1.6.5. The property's State Road 82 location make it suitable for non-residential commercial uses and activities. As such, it presents a contiguous and compact growth pattern that does not bypass the tracts of land to support development, in part due to the adjacent C2 commercial use up and down State Road 82. The project is consistent with Objective 2.1. Fire protection and emergency response will be provided by Lehigh Acres Fire Station 103 at 308 Gunnery Road South. Lehigh Acres Lee County Sheriff's Department Station for Lehigh Acres is located at 1301 Homestead Road North. State Road 82 between Gateway Boulevard and Gunnery Road has a 2023 LOSC based on 1,743 trips at a 6-lane divided road capacity of 2,866. The project is consistent with Policy 2.2. The project is 2,200 square feet, so is well under 30,000 square feet review standard. The project will generate less than 5,000 gallons of sewage per day. However, currently a capital improvement project is being constructed for FGUA, which extends the water main from Griffin Drive to Ray Avenue South. During the development order, water will be available to the site. The project is exempt from 4.1.1 and 4.1.2 standards and is consistent with 4.1. The property does not adjoin occupied residential properties to the north, south, east, and west. The property does not encroach upon residential uses and is not potentially destructive to the character and integrity of the residential environment. This is so that the adjoining parcels are generally zoned commercial along State Road 82, with the property abutting State Road 82, a state-maintained arterial road, Meadow Road, a county-maintained minor collector, and Ray Avenue, a county-maintained local roadway. Standard code buffering will be more than appropriate given the location and surrounding. To the east, the property is currently separated by a county-maintained minor collector right-of-way. The residential lots zoned RM2 is also within the mixed-use overlay. The mixed-use overlay is intended for a mixture of commercial uses intended to encourage urban forms of development with a variety of uses. The property currently separated the residential lots to the west with a 6-lane principal arterial road by approximately 275 feet, serving as a traditional transition between a high-intensity commercial highway and existing and future single-family residential uses. The project is consistent with 5.1.2. Traffic and access impacts. The project does not generate unanticipated and unacceptable traffic. The expected impacts on transportation facilities will be addressed by existing county regulations and conditions of approval. Access will be provided along Meadow Road, a county-maintained minor collector. Screening and buffering will be provided to meet county standards, and we have a special exception site plan. Sewer and water facilities, the project will be consistent with Lehigh Acres Objective 25.9.1, which states the availability of sewer and water is not a requirement for zoning approval. However, currently a capital improvement project is being constructed for FGUA to extend the water main from Griffin Drive to Ray Avenue South. During the development order, water will be available to the site. Impacts on adjacent land uses. No residential uses adjoin the project. The site is located at a commercial corner, which minimizes surrounding neighborhood impacts. Proximity to other similar centers located opposite to the property on the south side of Ray Avenue South is zoned C2, with the proposed automotive repair and service center, Take 5 oil change, and a developed dollar store. Environmental considerations. There are no environmental considerations with the property. The requested special exception for 12 self-service fuel pumps is compatible with south and north adjoining commercial uses. The site is located at an intersection of a minor collector road and a state arterial highway, thus no residential neighborhood intrusion will occur. The project is consistent with 6.1.4. The requested commercial use designation to protect the traffic carrying capacity of State Road 82 is maintained by constructing the project's access on Meadow Road, a county-maintained minor collector, as opposed to State Road 82, a state-maintained arterial. The project is consistent with 6.1.5. The site plan depicts the proposed location of the convenience store, gas pumps, access points, parking, and buffers. Although the subject property is within the mixed-use overlay, the project will meet the general provisions established in Land Development Code 34-1353 for the proposed convenience store and beverage store. As provided above, the administrative amendment, ADD 2024-00225, was submitted for relief from Land Development Code 34-1353 for certain setback and buffer requirements, and from Land Development Code 10-285, which establishes the required connection separation. This application has been submitted and is currently in review. To ensure the proposed use will be compatible with the residential uses located to the north, the applicant proposes to concentrate the commercial activity towards State Road 82 and provide a 20-foot enhanced landscape buffer along Meadow Road, which is intended to assure that the proposed use and additional fuel pumps will not be detrimental to the public welfare of the residents residing near the subject property. The project will be consistent with 6.1.6. The parcel is located within the mixed-use overlay as well as the Lehigh Commercial District overlay, which is intended for a mix of residential and commercial uses. This design ensures the commercial establishment will be within walking distance to help foster a walkable neighborhood of the surrounding residential community, providing a convenient resource and employment for residents. Providing new retail square footage in a predominantly residential area helps reduce travel trips for convenience and necessary items, and provides employment opportunities that is within walking distance to residential home sites. Objective 25.8 strives to improve transportation, parking, and circulation within the Lehigh Acres Community Plan area. Policy 25.8.2 establishes that all connections to State Road 82 must be consistent with the FDOT Corridor Access Management Plan for State Road 82. The project's access points will be on Meadow Road. Policy 25.8.4 provides that all new commercial development must provide parking lot interconnections to adjacent properties and must not prevent pedestrian or vehicular access from adjacent residential areas. The subject property is adjacent to properties zoned residential, multifamily RM2, and the proposed site depicts a future cross access to a budding commercial C2 property to the east. The site lies within the Florida Governmental Utility Authority water franchise area. However, there's an existing capital improvements project, Gateway Estates Bulk Water Connection, LEP 33. The project consists of the installation of the water main extension along Ray Avenue South from Griffin Drive to Leonard Boulevard South. The site lies within the Florida Governmental Utility Authority wastewater franchise area. However, there is no existing facilities for connection within a reasonable distance from the site. The proposed development is for a 2,220 square foot commercial floor area and will generate well below the threshold of 5,000 gallons of sewage per day, provided in standard 4.1.2. The proposed development does not meet the thresholds for a connection provided in LDC section 10353, and no central sewer lines are or will be available. The proposed development will provide a private septic system consistent with the Land Development Code and all other permitting requirements. The proposal is consistent with Lee Plan Policy 25.9, 25.9.1, and 25.9.2. And for the conclusion, the request is consistent with the goals, objectives, policies, and the intent of the Lee Plan. The request will not cause damage, hazard, nuisance, or other detriment to persons or property. It is being integrated into the existing neighborhood as a relatively low-intensity development and is similar in nature to the uses in the area. The requested use will be in compliance with all general zoning provisions and supplemental regulations pertaining to the uses set forth in Chapter 34 of the Land Development Code. Sufficient evidence has been provided with this application that this special exception is in compliance with the Lee Plan, the Land Development Code, and all other applicable rules and regulations meet or exceed all performance and location standards set forth in uses allowed by the request. The request is consistent with the densities, intensities, and general uses set forth in the Lee Plan. The request is compatible with existing or planned uses in the surrounding area. Approval of the request will not place any undue burden upon existing transportation or planned infrastructure facilities and will be served by streets with the capacity to carry traffic generated by the development. The request will not adversely affect environmentally critical areas and natural resources.
Can you go over the buffer? Can you go back to the master concept plan slide? I had
Sure.
additional questions. I know that that's being dealt with as part of the ADD, but I didn't understand. There was repeated reference that it's an enhanced buffer. So are you doing the same required plantings just within a shorter width?
We are increasing the quantity of landscape within a shorter width.
Okay, so what would be required within the 25-foot? It's not that you're just squeezing that within the 20 feet, you're actually exceeding what would otherwise be required?
Yes, increasing the quantity of trees and shrubs.
And that's along the Meadow Road
Yes,
buffer for the entirety of that?
yes.
Would that Would the reduction still be required if you stayed with the 8 pumps? Is that because you're expanding to the 12, or would that be required regardless?
That would be required regardless.
And on the traffic, it's one of the attachments, the auto turn exhibit. Can you explain that a little bit more? Attachment N. It's I did the site visit yesterday, and it's gonna be a fairly short, immediate right-in from that light. And I assume road improvements will be required for the 2 entrances that you'll have on Meadow Road?
Yes, part of the development order is bringing Meadow Road back up to Lee County standards. And along with that, in our connection onto Meadow Road, we looked at a couple different options for minimizing any effect on the multifamily across the street. So we looked at making potentially one-way in compared to two-way access points. And through our analysis, through both auto turn and through a traffic impact analysis, potential turn lanes may be needed exiting the site, and we didn't want to have too many headlights facing the multifamily across the street. So we plan on keeping the two-way conditions compared to one-way to avoid more turn lanes on Meadow Road for the traffic for this site.
So is that the Exhibit B within this attachment?
I think
Two-way entrance?
there's 2. Yeah, one of them has a one-way in on the northeast
Right.
compared to the other that has a two-way.
And that was including the fueling trucks and the larger size vehicles that'll need to access the site?
Yes, we also looked into potentially putting an access point on Ray Avenue South to minimize impact across on the multifamily, but it's a tight site, about 0.8 acres, and there would be potential impacts to truck turnaround in the site, and then blockage of flow through the site with a truck. So we kept the truck turnaround and both access points on Meadow Road.
And again, just because the only thing that we're really here for today is that additional 4 pumps, because you're allowed to do the gas station regardless, but it looks like you're doing essentially 6 fueling stations. So the footprint that you're adding by those additional 2, the way that you've got it designed, it doesn't seem to be that that's what's triggering any of the site constraints or the things that you're having to deal with in this site design and the circulation. Is that?
Right, we would have similar constraints with the 8 compared to 12.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So they would be needed regardless, it seems like.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that you will not be taking advantage of much of the mixed-use overlay relief because you're having to meet the supplemental standards because of the use. But you're also, I assume, going to meet the Chapter 33 commercial design standards since you're in the overlay?
Yes.
Okay. It wasn't mentioned, so I just wanted to be sure that that was addressed. I think that was all the questions that I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm ready for staff whenever you're ready. Good morning.
Good morning. For the record, my name is Brianna Schrader, and I'm a planner with the zoning section of community development. I have been previously accepted as an expert witness in the Lee County Land Development Code and Comprehensive Plan and wish to do so again today.
Yes, thank you.
All right, before we start, I do want to give you my presentation.
Thank you. So that will be applicant Exhibit 3. Thank you.
All right, so the case I have presented to you today is SEZ2024-00010. And it is a special exception request by Quattrone and Associates on behalf of the owner, Celestial Liberty Dreams LLC, to allow the increase of fuel pumps in conjunction with a convenience food and beverage store. Land Development Code, LDC, Section 34-844, permits the convenience food and beverage store use by right and allows up to 8 pumps. However, the applicant is seeking 12. LDC Section 34-844, Note 19, establishes that a special exception is required to increase the number of fuel pumps. The subject property is approximately less than an acre and is located northeast of State Road 82 and northwest of Gunnery Road South and Daniels Parkway. There's also a development order that is currently in review for the site and a vacation of easement to vacate the public utility easements that are currently on site, and that has been reviewed and is scheduled for hearing. The subject property is within the central urban future land use category in accordance with the Lee Plan and is zoned commercial, more specifically within the C2 zoning district. For the surrounding area, the properties located north and east are within the RM2 zoning districts and are partially developed. There are 2 lots directly north that are developed with a residential duplex, while the remainder are undeveloped. These properties are also within the central urban future land use category. To the southeast of the subject property, the properties are zoned commercial, more specifically also within the C2 zoning district. These properties are currently undeveloped and do not have an active development order and are within the central urban future land use category. Properties located to the south and west, directly across from State Road 82, are within a planned unit development known as Gateway and are within the new community future land use category. These areas are developed with a residential development and a non-commercial school known as Gateway High School. Lastly, the properties located to the northwest, directly across from Ray Avenue South, are zoned commercial and are more specifically within the C2 zoning district as well. The property directly across from the subject property, as the applicant had mentioned, 554 Meadow Road, is currently developed, or no, I'm sorry, it's undeveloped, but has a development order in to develop a Take 5 oil change, which is classified as an automotive repair and service center. And the property next to 554 Meadow Road, that one is developed and has been developed since 2019 through a development order and a commercial permit as a Dollar General. The subject property is also within the mixed-use overlay and within the Lehigh Acres Community Plan area as set forth in Lee Plan Maps 2B and 2C. The applicant was required to hold a publicly advertised information session with the Lehigh Acres community in compliance with LDC Section 33-1401, and the applicant did provide staff with the meeting minutes. With the proposed use being a convenience food and beverage store, the proposed use is required to be regulated by LDC Section 34-1353, which establishes the property development regulations and the landscape requirements for development of this use. The general property development regulations for the commercial zoning districts and properties within the mixed-use overlay that are established in LDC Section 34-845 are not applicable for this use. The subject property is also comprised of a combination of 4 lots that are identified as lots 1 through 4 as recorded in the Lehigh Acres plat book. And it has 3 street frontages, a state maintained road known as State Road 82, which has a functional classification as an arterial road, which is located to the south, a county maintained road known as Ray Avenue South, which has a functional classification as a local road, which is located to the west, and a county maintained road known as Meadow Road, which has a functional classification as a minor collector road, which is located to the north. So as previously mentioned, we do have an administrative approval in and still in review, and it coincides with this special exception. And due to the property being less than an acre in size, it does qualify relief through the administrative process and specifically request relief from these 3 areas provided on the screen. One being LDC Section 34-1353E1, which requires a landscape buffer of at least 25 feet in width along the right-of-way to allow a 20-foot wide enhanced buffer along Meadow Road and a 15-foot wide buffer along State Road 82. LDC Section 34-1353D1, which requires a street setback of 50 feet from an arterial and collector road to allow setbacks of about 42 feet on Meadow Road, which is classified as a minor collector road, and about 44 feet on State Road 82, which is classified as an arterial road. And then lastly, LDC Section 10-285, which requires a connection separation of 125 feet along minor collector roads with a speed limit of less than 45 miles per hour in future urban areas to allow connection separation distances of about 72 feet between Wright Avenue South and the Western Access Drive, and about 102 feet between the two access drives serving the development. Now, the request to reduce the connection separation requirement is currently under review with Lee County DOT staff. The applicant is proposing to have both access points onto Meadow Road, and the auto term exhibit also demonstrated provides potential issues with the trucks entering and exiting the site if the access points were to be changed. Staff is recommending a condition to allow access points to be reevaluated with Lee County DOT staff, as well as the connection separation too. The applicant has provided a site plan that demonstrates compliance with the majority of LDC Section 34-1353 and the corresponding administrative approval, which is still under review. LDC Section 34-145C3 establishes the review criteria for special exception request, and the following slides will provide how the applicant has met the review criteria. Now, Lead Plan Policy 1.1.3 establishes that the essential urban future land use category are areas that are already the most heavily settled, and if these areas already do not have the greatest range and highest levels of public services, they will at some point in the future. The area is currently surrounded by both commercial and residential uses. There is a development order open for a new commercial use, and the zoning districts surrounding the subject property indicate that additional commercial and residential uses will be added at some point in the future, which is consistent with this Lead Plan policy. Goal 25 and Policy 25.6.1 of the Lead Plan establishes the objectives and policies within the Lehigh Acres Community Plan area that ensured continued development, and aims for this area to be developed into a vibrant residential and commercial community consisting of safe and secure single-family and multifamily neighborhoods and vibrant commercial and employment centers, as well as permits commercial land uses in the Lehigh commercial overlay. As provided early in this presentation, the subject property is within the Lehigh Acres Community Plan area and is within the C2 Commercial Zoning District. The proposed increase in fuel pumps that coincide with the convenience food and beverage store will provide additional employment opportunities to this area and will benefit the neighboring residential community, which is consistent with this Lead Plan, goal, and policy. Objective 25.8 of the Lead Plan strives to improve transportation, parking, and circulation within the Lehigh Acres Community Plan area. Policy 25.8.2 establishes that all connections to State Road 82 must be consistent with the FDOT Corridor Access Management Plan. And Policy 25.8.4 provides that all new commercial development must provide parking lot interconnections to adjacent properties and must prevent pedestrian or vehicular access from adjacent residential areas. The subject property is adjacent to property zone residential multifamily, and the proposed site plan depicts a future cross access to a abutting property to the east, which is consistent with the SLEEP plan objective and policy. LEED Plan Policy 25.9.1 establishes that water and sewer availability to serve uses within the commercial overlay zones is not a requirement of zoning approval. However, sewer and water must be available to the property in accordance with standards 4.1.1 and 4.1.2. Now, standard 4.1.1 establishes that any commercial development exceeding 30,000 square feet of gross leasable floor area must connect to a public water system. And standard 4.1.2 establishes that any commercial development exceeding 5,000 square feet of gross leasable floor area must connect to a public sewer system. The subject property is now required to connect to potable water and sewer due to the proposed project being up to 2,220 square feet in gross leasable floor area. However, the applicant has provided staff with a letter of availability from FGUA due to a capital improvement project being in place to ensure availability, and pursuant to the plans provided in the development order for this site, they will be providing potable water and sanitary septic, which is consistent with the SLEEP plan policy and standards. Goal 6 and policy 6.1.6 and 6.1.8 promotes orderly and well-planned commercial development and requires developments to provide adequate landscaping, open space, and buffering per land development code regulations. Also prohibits commercial development from being located near an existing school or planned school areas. The proposed use will require the development to comply with LDC section 34-1353, which establishes the general provisions for the convenience food and beverage store. There's an administrative approval currently in review for relief from the LDC sections 34-1353 from the current setback and buffer requirements, and 10-285, which establishes the required connection separation. And then to ensure the proposed use will be compatible with the residential uses located to the north, the applicant proposes to concentrate the commercial activity towards State Road 82 and provide a 20-foot enhanced landscape buffer along Meadow Road, which is intended to assure that the proposed use and additional fuel pumps will not be injurious to the neighborhood or detrimental to the public. Staff will be recommending a condition in reference to the buffer requirements, and that will be discussed in this presentation. Staff would also like to note that the subject property does not directly abut Gateway High School, which is located southwest of the subject property across State Road 82. The Lee County School District has provided no comments on this project. And based on this analysis, the request as condition is consistent with Goal 6 and Policies 6.1.6 and 6.1.8. Provided here are is the buffering and screening provided by the applicant, which is a 20-foot enhanced right-of-way buffer with 10 trees per 100 linear feet and a double hedge row along the northeast property line, which abuts Meadow Road with property zoned residential multifamily. To the south, which abuts a state-maintained road known as State Road 82, proposes a 15-foot Type D right-of-way buffer with 5 trees per 100 linear feet in a double staggered hedgerow. And then to the eastern property line that abuts a lot that is zoned commercial within the C2 zoning district. It requires a Type A buffer pursuant to LDC sections 33-1405, 10-416D4, and 33-1353E5. The applicant is in compliance with the buffer requirement. Lastly, the western property line abuts a county-maintained road known as Rain Avenue South. The required landscape buffer as conditioned and established in LDC section 34-1353 is a 25-foot right-of-way buffer. For open space on the protected species, the subject property is considered a small project, and pursuant to LDC Section 10-425A, the project will have to provide at least 10% of open space at the time of development order and will not need to provide indigenous open space. Staff would like to note the Lee County environmental staff and the ecological assessment provided by the applicant confirm that there are no protected species on site. As provided earlier in the presentation, the subject property is located within the Lehigh Acres Community Plan area in the Central Urban Future Land Use category, which will provide the highest levels of urban services according to the LEAD plan, as well as provide a vibrant commercial and employment centers. For public utilities, the site is currently undeveloped, and as mentioned earlier, the applicant has provided a water sewer availability letter with FGUA. Although the subject property is not required to connect to water and sewer, the applicant will be connecting to potable water and having on-site sanitary septic. There is currently an approved limited development order to extend the service to this location, and staff will be recommending a condition to connect to potable water pursuant to the development order plans, which show the applicant will also be connecting. For solid waste, the site is to be serviced by Waste Pro, and the applicant will need to meet LDC sections 10-261 and 10-610 at the time of development order. And then for emergency services, the site will be served by Lehigh Acres Fire Control and Lee County Sheriff's Office. For public transit, there is a Lee Tran bus stop approximately 2.5 miles from the subject property. And then for transportation, the site will have 2 access points to access the property on Meadow Road. Lee County DOT has provided an analysis noting that the current site plan does not meet the code-required connection separation standards, and the applicant has requested relief from the connection separation standards within ADD 2024-00225. The applicant has also provided a traffic impact statement which concluded that the proposed development will not have a detrimental impact on the surrounding roadway system. Provided here are the conditions staff is recommending with this project, which is a development must be in substantial compliance with the site plan prepared by the applicant, except as conditioned herein. If further modifications are requested, appropriate approvals will be necessary. The development is limited to 2,220 square foot convenience food and beverage store with a maximum of 12 pumps. Hours of delivery will be limited to 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday through Saturday. Let's see. And then final approval of proposed connection separation on Long Meadow Road is still under review of ADD 2024-00225. So modifications to the special exception site plan to address an alternative access location or to address design modifications required for permits from other agencies may be approved through the administrative approval process. And a condition for the development to connect to potable water. And then prior to the issuance of the development order, the plans must depict the buffers shown here, which are to the north, which abuts Meadow Road, an enhanced 20-foot buffer with 10 native trees planted 100 linear feet, and a double staggered hedgerow planted at 36 inches and maintained at 48 inches. To the south, which abuts State Road 82, a 15-foot right-of-way buffer with 5 trees per 100 linear feet and a double staggered hedgerow. And to the west, which abuts Ray Avenue South, a 25-foot right-of-way buffer along Ray Avenue with 5 native trees planted 100 linear feet and a double staggered hedgerow as required by LDC Section 34-1353E. To conclude today's presentation, staff finds the request to allow an increase of the number of fuel pumps from the allowable 8 to 12 meets the requirements of LDC Section 34-145C3 and recommends approval of the request with the conditions provided. Staff is available for any questions regarding this case if needed.
I assume as you went through it, because the concerns that you would usually have with putting a gas station this close to the residential, but because it's a special exception, we're only talking again about that Delta 4
Yes.
pumps. When you went through it, did that additional 4 pumps trigger any concerns that you wouldn't otherwise have in looking at the location and the design?
Not from my recollection, no.
Okay. And with the school safety, I know they're not abutting, but it is immediately across the street. It looks like on the site plan, they will be providing a sidewalk that will connect. Is that your, I know it's not part of the special exception, but I'm just curious for that compliance with 6.1.8. I believe, or maybe the applicant can answer that for me. It looks like there's a 6-foot sidewalk that runs the entirety of the western boundary line, connecting Meadow all the way to the intersection at 082 and Griffin.
Yeah, there'll be 3 connection points. Well, one will be extending to the southeast for future sidewalk. One will be on the northwest for the crosswalk across Ray Avenue to connect to the existing sidewalk on the northwest. And the last connection will be to FDOT on the southwest to the existing sidewalk.
That is an incredibly trafficked, I don't know if you're familiar with it, that intersection in the morning with high school students walking. So I think providing another connection point for them will actually be beneficial regarding them not having to cross the street on the other side to get there. So that's helpful. I think that really extended it. Thank you for doing such an extensive staff report. It really was helpful. I had notes as I went through, but they were answered as I went through the materials and the presentations you both provided today. So thank you for that. It will not take me long to get this out. It's pretty straightforward. So I appreciate everybody being here today. If there were any final comments or closing comments either party wanted to make? Okay, then we will
Thank you.
conclude. Thank you. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Please stay safe. You too.
Thank you.